Life is not only about what you add, it is equally about what you subtract, because success is often less about accumulation and more about elimination. And Jim Rohn always reminded us that if you want to design a better future, you must first take responsibility for the architecture of your present, which means looking honestly at the things that don't belong, the things that weigh you down, the things that waste your time, steal your energy, and dilute your potential. So today, let us talk about deleting 10 things from your life. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Because every day you delay is another day you carry unnecessary weight on your journey to success. And the first thing to delete is toxic relationships, because nothing will drain your motivation, your self-esteem, and your clarity like people who constantly criticize, complain, and belittle your vision. And Jim used to say, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, which means if you surround yourself with small thinkers, you will shrink. But if you walk with dreamers and doers, you will rise. So delete the toxic ties and make room for mentors, peers, and friends who inspire you. The second thing to delete is excuses, because excuses are lies you tell yourself to defend mediocrity. They sound reasonable, but they keep you from growth. And every time you say, I don't have the time, or I'm not ready, or I don't know how, you are closing the door to opportunity, when in reality you could find the time by reorganizing. You could become ready by starting before you feel ready. And you could learn how by being humble enough to be a beginner. So stop rehearsing excuses and start rehearsing discipline, because discipline weighs ounces while regret weighs tons. The third thing to delete is the habit of procrastination, because procrastination is the silent assassin of achievement. It convinces you that tomorrow is a better day to begin, but tomorrow never comes. And Jim always said, without a sense of urgency, desire loses its value. So delete that tendency to postpone and replace it with a bias for action. Do small things immediately, build momentum, and you will discover that action breeds clarity, while inaction breeds doubt. The fourth thing to delete is negative self-talk, because the conversation you have with yourself shapes the life you create. And if your inner dialogue is filled with doubt, fear, and criticism, you are programming failure. So stop saying, I can't, and start saying, I can learn. Stop saying, I'm not enough, and start saying, I'm growing every day. Because success begins in the mind long before it manifests in reality. And if you want a better future, you must speak it into existence by feeding your mind with empowering beliefs. The fifth thing to delete is unhealthy habits, because energy is the foundation of achievement, and if you eat poorly, sleep irregularly, neglect exercise, or abuse your body with substances, you are sabotaging your own performance. And Jim often reminded us that, take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. So delete the junk food, delete the late nights of wasted time, delete the addictions that steal your focus, and adopt habits that give you vitality, because a sharp mind lives in a healthy body. The sixth thing to delete is time-wasting activities, because life is short, and scrolling endlessly, gossiping, watching hours of meaningless television, or drowning in distractions robs you of the one resource you can never recover. And Jim used to say, don't major in minor things, which means focus on activities that actually move your life forward, that bring you closer to your goals, and eliminate the ones that just consume without producing, because your destiny is built by how you spend your hours. The seventh thing to delete is fear of failure, because fear paralyzes, fear keeps you small, and fear convinces you that it's safer to stay in your comfort zone than to venture into the unknown. But the truth is, failure is not the opposite of success. It is a stepping stone to success. And Jim taught that failure is a few errors in judgment repeated every day, while success is a few disciplines practiced every day. So don't fear failure, fear stagnation, fear regret, fear never trying, and delete the habit of letting fear run your choices. The eighth thing to delete is envy and comparison, because comparison is the thief of joy. It blinds you to your own progress, and envy poisons your heart against others' success. But Jim said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Which means stop looking at others' achievements with jealousy and instead let them inspire you to raise your own standards. Delete the need to measure yourself by someone else's yardstick and focus on becoming the best version of yourself, because your race is your own. The ninth thing to delete is living in the past, because too many people are trapped by old mistakes, old regrets, and old identities. They replay the pain of yesterday and wonder why they cannot move forward. But Jim reminded us that you cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight, which means you can't rewrite your past, but you can redirect your future starting now. So delete the chains of yesterday, forgive yourself, learn the lessons, and then close the chapter, because new opportunities await only when you stop staring backward. And the 10th thing to delete is lack of vision, because a life without vision is like a ship without a compass, drifting aimlessly. And Jim often emphasized, if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. So delete the vagueness, delete the wandering, and craft a vision so clear and compelling that it pulls you out of bed with enthusiasm every morning. Because when you have a vision, discipline is no longer punishment. It becomes devotion, and sacrifice becomes investment. Now, if you think carefully about these 10 deletions, toxic relationships, excuses, procrastination, negative self-talk, unhealthy habits, time-wasting activities, fear of failure, envy and comparison, living in the past, and lack of vision, you will realize that deleting is not about loss, but about gain. Because by subtracting what does not serve you, you multiply your strength, your clarity, and your capacity to succeed. And Jim Rohn's wisdom was always about simple disciplines practiced consistently, small changes that compound into monumental transformation. So imagine what your life would look like 1 year from now if you deleted just one of these 10 things. Imagine what 5 years would look like if you deleted all 10, the freedom you would feel, the progress you would make, the self-respect you would build. Because life rewards the disciplined, and discipline sometimes means saying no, cutting off, and letting go. So the challenge for you today is to take inventory of your life and ask yourself honestly, what must I delete? Who must I stop listening to? Which excuses must I throw away? Which habits must I abandon? Because until you decide what no longer belongs, you cannot make room for what is waiting to arrive. And the greatest gift you can give yourself is not more clutter, but more clarity. Not more baggage, but more breathing space. Not more excuses, but more responsibility. And in the end, success is less about what you add and more about what you subtract, because subtraction is the doorway to multiplication. And the more you delete what diminishes you, the more you will discover the greatness within you.